What's going on, everyone? Chris Mack coming at you today with the Marvel Legends Sasquatch Wave Deadpool Deathlok action figure. And if you guys want to pick this up at the time of this recording, unfortunately it's not available online. So as I always, well, not online, but the online stores. So as I always say, first and foremost, support your local comic shop or where it is like to get your action figures and comics and grab it. If not, it is available on the secondary market such as Amazon. And I've been itching to go over this figure. I love the little Deadpool logo there, and of course it says Sasquatch up there, and then the cool spot varnish Deadpool logo there. Love the artwork of Deathlok there, just super gritty, awesome artwork. It just adds to the feel of the box. On the back, you get a really cool product shot of Deathlok, as well as a read-up, so I'll get a close-up so you can check it out at your convenience, as well as the figures from the way that you need to build Sasquatch. On the same side as every other Legends figure, you get the cool product shot there. Nothing on the bottom. So with that said, is this older figure cool or not? Let's crack it open and see what it has to offer. Luther Manning, the first Deathlok, appeared in Astonishing Tales issue 25 from August 1974 and was created by Rich Buckler. Colonel Luther Manning was an American soldier who was fatally injured and reanimated as a cyborg by Simon Riker in a post-apocalyptic future. He battles the evil corporation while simultaneously struggling not to lose his humanity. Apparently, Deathlok was conceived as the main character for a novel. However, Buckler got the opportunity to use Deathlok within the comics medium. His development was put on hold when Marvel was negotiating for the comic book adaptation rights for the $6 Million Man, and once Charlton Comics claimed the rights, Marvel could continue on with Deathlok. Buckler stated, "What I did was rethink part of it and make sure things were the opposite. So while the $6 Million Man was a good-looking guy, I took that all away from Deathlok. I made him a monster, and instead of being friends with technology, he was enemies with it. And then it developed from there, and it actually got deeper as a concept." Deathlok was initially announced as the new lead feature for Marvel's World's Unknown comic under the title Cyborg, but was then moved to Astonishing Tales. Each Deathlok that has appeared was a dead human that has been reanimated with cybernetic technology. Other Deathloks have been Michael Collins, which I believe is what this figure is based on. It's either him or Luther Manning. It's kind of dealer's choice on that one. There's also John Kelly, Jack Truman, Henry Hayes, and then my personal favorite is Deathlok Prime and Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run. Speaking of, we will eventually be going over that version of the figure, so stay tuned. Now, as for this particular one, I've always liked Deathlok. I love that issue of Spider-Man. I think it's issue 21, I'm not 100% sure, where he teams up with Spider-Man to take on the Sinister Six, and what's his name? Spidey has to use kind of the same augmentations because his arm is broken, and it's just a trip to see both of them working together. It's quite an awesome read. We've gone over it, so I'll make sure to leave a card here so you guys can check it out at your convenience. Accessories for this guy. I do like the accessories that he comes with. So he comes first with the backpack, which, ouch, can come off. And it's cool, kind of has like a Terminator feel to it, the gunmetal gray. Looks great, and then of course he poured it into his back. And see, at least with this figure, I know the Bucky cap mold is tiresome, but at least this one has a function to it instead of just being there because they're too lazy to fill in the mold. I get it. Then he comes with this really cool gun. I have no idea what model it is, so for more of you guys that are more versed in munitions, let me know, but I love the little scope on it. The little mag sticking out right there looks super awesome. And then just all the little tiny details on it just gives it the little panache that you just want from a figure. And then he comes with the BFG, for those of you who have played Doom. And I love this thing. Let me go ahead and get it out of his hand real quick. That gunmetal gray just looks great all around. It just makes it look like a machine gun that you do not want to be in front of. And I love that the y'all know what I'm trying to say. I've not had enough coffee today, so. But where the bullets come from, the pew-pew part, I like that it actually spins. It's a shame that there's not a way you couldn't rotate it here in the back, so. But nonetheless, just to have that little added features, cool. And then he comes with the big, I cannot remember what caliber this is. I know it's a kind of a hollow point. Again, those of you that are more versed in munitions, please let me know. I love that they made sure to use a gold, what do you call it, sheen on it, so it actually looks like actual hollow point bullets as that thing's being fed through. And you can port it in either side. It's kind of a shame that they didn't give you one that's full and one that's empty, since there's two port sides. That way, if you want to do on your shelf, you have one side looking like the bullets are still loaded, and as it's coming through, they're being spit out, you know, just the belt itself coming out empty. That would have been kind of neat. But still, you can kind of get creative with it. If you want to kind of give it more of a Tommy gun look, you could switch it around that way. So that's a nice little addition. So the accessories overall for this figure aren't bad. I mean, for a relatively obscure character that not a whole lot of people know about, whenever he shows up, though, people do enjoy him. The other thing that's kind of neat, though I don't understand, is so all the cyborgs have this little thing. I think it's supposed to be part of what keeps his humanity intact or whatever, but it ports in and out, but this does not come off of his belt. So it's sort of cool, but at the same time unnecessary. Though I am glad, though, just in terms of functionality, that if, say, you're trying to move his hands or whatever and his finger catches it, at least if that pops out, you're like, oh, it popped out. Instead of being like, oh shit, I just ripped that out of his chest. Oh boy. And again, I think this is Luther Manning because he was a U.S. soldier, as we just said, so he has the little American flag there on his chest, which I like that little addition. Just nice, cool homage to the comics. And then, of course, you can kind of see where everybody during the 90s, 80s, well, should I say, yeah, 80s to 90s, because Terminator 1 and 2, you can just see that Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger, what's the word I'm looking for? Homage. But that's okay, because, you know, Deathlok has kind of become his own thing. And again, it's not supposed to be like, you know, endoskeleton over living tissue over endo. Oh God, how does Arnold say it? You can tell that I'm struggling today. Living tissue over endoskeleton. Whatever, you guys know what I'm trying to say. This looks more like an actual helmet piece, and just that silver sheen on it looks great. Skin tones look awesome. All the little indentions to kind of give it that dead zombie reanimator face looks great. Of course, the neck tone fits in there, looks great. The yellows, and of course the sheen. Now, one thing with this figure, I don't know if it's going to be with every single one, but this one I had to warm up quite a few times, because I even noticed this even with my Cable figure. For whatever reason, like the arms only go 90 degrees, but this one would not do that. I had to sit him in front of a space heater for probably about a good 45 minutes to finally get this to do this, and it still wouldn't go up. Like, I could still see that this was supposed to come up. And so again, I put it in for another about 15 minutes in front of my space heater, and then just added a little bit of pressure. And this is how ridiculous, this is what I mean by we shouldn't have to do this. But then I just heard this, like the paint was moving off the joint or whatever. So, hallelujah, but at the same time, it was like unfreaking necessary. Now, as for the metal, getting off that little irk my gurk moment, love the sheen of the metal. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Same with the hands. Now, I wish we could have got some punching hands, but he comes with more of like an open, you can do like a choke with this one or whatever. I hate when they only get two hands, because then you kind of feel limited on action figure photography or posing on a shelf, what have you. So it is what it is. The leather gauntlets on his arms, awesome. That red and yellow belt looks great. And then, of course, weapon storage for that bad boy. It's just a shame that, okay, so they give him a backpack. Cool. But it's kind of useless. It's just there for aesthetics. I wish they would have put just a little hook like they do. I mean, for frick's sake, this is Hasbro. And they do all these cool little weapon storages for the G.I. Joes, the 6-inch versions. They couldn't have added like a little hook that you could have just... And that would have looked freaking awesome. So... Okay, we're going to get past that because I'm frustrated. 90s belt buckles look great. Metal knee pads. Boots. Very cool. They look like Colossus boots. Probably are. Love that gold right there. And then, of course, the silver on the ankles. For an older figure, just absolutely gorgeous piece. And if you're kind of more into the more Marvel monsters or the more obscure figures, this one is definitely up your alley. It just screams the 90s, you know, late 80s, early 90s, when everything was a little more edgy. It just added to that time period. I remember seeing Deathlok and not knowing a whole lot about him, but I always thought that he looked awesome. And I always liked the concept when he always showed up as a guest appearance. And then later down the road, when Remender did Uncanny X-Force and he became part of the team, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome. Now, as for articulation, as I just said, make sure to warm your figure up so that you don't have to deal with the crap that I dealt with. Head can go down that much on the ball joint, that far back, side to side, and you get some decent motion there. Arm goes up. And thankfully, I mean, it does have to kind of come out at an angle to go around because of the backpack, but at least it doesn't completely hinder it like some capes do and all that jazz. Bicep swivel. Because it's an older figure, single jointed elbows, so, you know, brace yourself for that. And then the Uncanny X-Force version that we're going over has the same thing, so it's basically they use the same model, so it's like, or mold, whatever what have you. Hands, of course, spin, up and down. Down that far. Back that much. Side to side. Legs. Just about double jointed knees, so not too bad there. I wish McFarlane would start using more of the boot swivel. That's just definitely something. Foot goes like that, and I wish Hasbro had the foot peg. You can tell that I've gotten spoiled over the years. So you can move around there. And of course, the dreaded butt flap, so you cannot go back. Degrees. Because it is an older figure, I will give it a pass. If this was like a new 2025 figure and it had this old mold, I would probably be losing my mind balls. But because it's an older figure and how far we've evolved since then, and it's still a gorgeous figure that holds up. And if you are an X-Men fan, Deadpool fan, Spider-Man fan, Deathlok is definitely one, or just a Marvel fan in general, that you want in your collection. Now, here's Deathlok next to the rest of the Sasquatch wave. Now, I don't have the Deadpool that came with this wave, but this is one thing that Marvel Legends always kind of irked my gurk, is the fact that they would give you an extra figure in the wave, but not give it anything. Like, it'd been nice if it would have been like maybe an extra head for Sasquatch or an accessory, something cool to make you want to chase that other figure, but I don't care. I already got the Deadpool from the Juggernaut wave, and I'm content. Plus, this Uncanny X-Force one that had the head, I'm a happy little camper. Now, overall, these figures make sense. I did say that Paladin because, you know, Deathlok has worked with the X-Force, and then, of course, Laura, Domino, Deadpool, obviously, and then Cable. Paladin's the only one that kind of feels out of place. I don't know. I'm glad that he's in the wave. If you guys know any issues of X-Men where Paladin has shown up, feel free to let me know so I can stand corrected. But as it stands, I just hate it when they kind of throw figures in randomly. It's like, let's make it make sense. But nonetheless, all these figures being badass soldiers look great when you put them together. They just have that gritty, malicious, that word, feel about them. And they're just going to look great if you're into action figure photography or just posing them on a shelf. Speaking of, what do you guys plan to do with your X-Force and street level figures? Are you going to pose them in teams on your shelf? Are you going to do dioramas? Are you going to do action figure photography? Let us know. We'd love to see your setups over on the socials. I really did enjoy this figure. Yeah, I kind of smacked on it just a little bit because it is an older figure, so, you know, we kind of get the limited articulation, but nonetheless, it is still holds up to this day. And maybe it's just a part of the member berries and nostalgia for me, because I remember when I really started getting into comics and I saw Deathlok, I was like, this is one tripped out looking character. And that's okay, because if you are a fan, definitely go grab this figure. I'm happy that I have both versions in my collection, because it just screams that time when comics were just majorly kicking butt every month. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and grab this figure. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little did pull a bell. Next, subscribe. That way, as I get to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.